Uganda rises. The North has suffered for a very long time. With the leadership of NUP, the support of the diaspora, which is you and I, and those of you watching these videos either live or recorded, with the courage of the people, the region can rise as a beacon of political transformation with people, more Dr. Lena Zivrigas, more IT assignments. The protest vote is not merely a rejection of dictatorship, it is a reawakening of collective dignity. And now I'd like our partner here to give us a little bit of real-time ground facts.
Thank you so much for the presentation. As we go through this, we want to know what is happening on the ground, because our challenge in the election, the protest vote, is to make sure not just get more members of parliament like some have interpreted it, but we need to increase the numbers everywhere. And as we have presented, the northern Uganda is a very good opportunity for us to do that. We have a region that, when you compare to the others, it is very geographically expanded. Okay, as we wait for the yes. Of all the areas, it's very diverse, very large. So when you think about what we need to cover as we mobilize our voters, this is something that you have to almost double most of the cost of some other areas. And we have a lot of sub-regions to cover, which are very big. We have like Acholi, Karamoja, and Lamu, and others that we have to cover. We had a map that, for some of you, we are talking about northern Uganda. You may not be very familiar with that, but you will be able to see it and see how big it is compared to the other areas. Then we know that every election is local, so we have to start from the ground up. We have constituencies in northern Uganda, 123 constituencies, but of them, we didn't have any NUP representation in the last election. We had the area dominated by NRM, a few sprinkles of UPC, some FDC. Our challenge as a party is, how do we make gains where it seems like everything is yellow? And we have to compare how many votes that the person allegedly got, because with Uganda, you always have to add that allegedly in the numbers. We have to compare those numbers and then set out a target. What do we as a party have to do? What are the numbers we are looking at? Are we looking at, we are thinking about, okay, to win, you need 51%. But we have to be ambitious and say, okay, what if we are targeting 70% of the vote? How are we going to get to this? So the numbers you actually have to go door to door, not just say, oh, I see a group of people. You have to go to the numbers speak. So that is what we'll do for each constituency. So you see, everything is yellow, yellow, yellow. To us, it's a challenge. We have to convert that yellow into red, deep red. And deep red means going. You know how it's troubling when we look at these voter results for US, and you see the pink, the red, the blue. Let's make that our target. The country must be red everywhere. That's how we ensure that it's too big a margin for anybody to take over. And then, in the back end, we are going to have to do more of what we're already doing. We need information, basic information of the voter, what are their names, how do you contact them, where those who are on social media, how do we link up with them? We also need that information for our candidates, but we also need that information for the opposition, get in there, challenge them, see what messages they are giving out, how do we challenge them. And the other group that we have to really look at are the people who are perpetuating the violence. We have to get those people, because if we are to protect our people during the vote, we have to know who is who, right up to village level. And the people, when you talk to them, they know the information, but we collectively have to have it in the back of our mind, so that if we are to carry out the protest vote, we are going to have to somehow see how do we surround these people, not physical surrounding, but how do we counter their activity. So we need that information, and those of you who have access to people on the ground or who have the technical knowledge, please, we will need that support. And then for Northern Uganda, for example, we are talking about 9,000 polling stations. So that's a lot of human resource. So what we have decided what we have thought about as a group is that how we move from family level to the polling station, and then combining those polling stations into what would be like an election hub or a protest hub, so that all the information we have, if we are messaging to that hub, and maybe not to the individual families. So thank you so much. We are going to do this.
Thank you so much. Another round of applause for thank you for Mary and your group that compiled that letter. You know, another Uganda, that topic is very pertinent to me. My mother comes from the north, and hearing that, it's really showing that there is plan of go back. It's very unfortunate that there is a stretch that comes from Soroti to Abim district. It's about 100 miles. I don't know, or Asia has been there, but personally I've been there. It's like 2-hour drive. But we used to drive for 8 hours to get to Abim district. And at least sometimes they say, when they speak about gerrymandering, because in Uganda, if you add all the MPs from the western part of the region, they beat all the MPs from the north, the central, and the east. So even though we all say we are in parliament, we are voting all the 3 blocks against western, they can still beat us in the election in the house and the plenary. So that was intentional. I've been to all the regions. When you go in the east, you can drive big stretches and you don't see people there. But you know why? Small sub-counties and districts. You find people coming to parliament with 7,000 votes, and you have Sentumana in Kampala in parliament right now with 75,000. You have our comrade Jaden, comrade Narupol. He's in parliament with over 20,000 votes. But back in the western part of the country, 3,000 votes, and someone has member of parliament. That's a mockery. In America, every election, they recount the population, then they bring partition if need be the members and representatives of the House. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we shall take questions later after the discussion. I can see there are questions popping out. But thank you so much for that plan from the National Health Platform. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm seeing ministers here discussing stuff. I don't know. I'm seeing ministers discussing. You know the challenge we have? Instead of being 80 years old, we all think that a minister should be 70. That's what we think. If you ask for membership in Uganda and you're 30 years old, they say, because they expect someone to be 60 years, 65 to be a member of parliament. That is so unfortunate. The youngest MP here in America, Yeah, the youngest MP in America is Maxwell Frost. He's only 28 years old. He's in the Congress. And no, that's not news. It doesn't surprise anyone that he's in Congress. But in most of the Commonwealth, we know one in Yaka or whether MP. And that's the barrier that we have to really put to an end. So, thank you so much, Comrade Mary. And I think, as advised by Dr., we can take the questions one to three, then they'll be answered later. What an issue was.
Thank you so much. I wish to thank the presenters. I wanted to, first of all, I think we need real-time data to be able to tackle the issues in any region, because we didn't mention any data or statistics. Whether Uganda has no 35 districts, and it has 7 million people. But I wanted to advise all the presenters that we need real-time data if we are to tackle the issues in any region. Having said that, I wanted to know the role of the Nup district offices which were opened up, because we are looking for allies, we are looking for ways of working within an area. So I know that Nup opened up offices, district offices or localized offices. So how are they functional? How are we going to link up with these offices?
Yeah, thank you, Mama. Thank you so much. I think we'll have a session whereby all the discussants here have to come and speak about and reply those questions. So please don't hesitate to raise your hand and put forward a question for those who are going to be presenting. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mama, thank you for that question. I think it's taken. You'll be answered later. We have our comrade from the great Massachusetts State Eastern Coast who's going to be discussing. We have comrade Mr. Abraham and comrade Blessing of Fula, please come through so that we hear from you guys. Because of this convention, I'm getting a chance to meet a lot of people. Comrade Abraham, we've been on the phone for over 2 years, and I've never met this gentleman. But he's a very committed fighter, very committed soldier, and I know these are the young people that really want to get involved. Yeah, thank you so much. Because Mochimani says, young people, celebrating now.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Blessing Fula. A little bit about me. I'm a freshman at Nup Boston, and I would like to present my paper that I wrote on corruption in Uganda and what we can do to change that. So, to start off, I would like to talk about how a government rooted in corruption is ultimately a self-destructive system. It erodes its trust and it fails to serve its citizens. And often it relies on fear and force to maintain control. We've seen a lot of those factors play into Uganda over past elections, and we have seen how the government has failed to serve its people and is instead using them for their own personal gain. In the United States, you see that there's multiple safeguards and checks and balances that are designed to reduce corruption in leadership. We see that in presidential elections here, they involve campaigning on policies and beliefs, engaging voters, and fundraising within transparent rules. We also see that presidents are elected indirectly through the Electoral College and solely not by popular vote. And we also see strict term limits, only 2 4-year terms allowed. These structures are meant to prevent power consolidation and protect democracy. However, in Uganda, the reality is very different. We have seen that the President Museveni has been in power for many, many years, longer than I've been alive, and his prolonged leadership is not a true reflection of what the people would like, honestly. His rule has been plagued by repeated allegations of corruption, repression, and election manipulation as well. So the second thing I'd like to touch on is the mismanagement of public resources that we've seen with this government. Museveni's government has faced persistent criticism for misusing national resources. Foreign aid, government budgets, and funds meant for public projects often never reach the intended beneficiaries. Allegations include large sums of money siphoned into private accounts of government officials, embezzle and misallocation in the sectors like health. There's a huge lack of medical supplies and understaffed facilities. We see that in hospitals in Uganda, they do not have the adequate care that the people would need, and this is all due to the government failing its people. We see education is also very, very poorly maintained. Having family in Uganda, having been in Uganda for a little bit, I see that if your kid's not in private school, they most likely won't get good education, which it keeps the people oppressed. Not having education does not allow people to be knowledgeable in what's going on, and it keeps the people oppressed. We see poor infrastructure and terrible public works, all because the government is using its people instead of serving them. Lastly, on the session, I'd like to say that citizens are also excluded from budget and financial decisions. This exclusion means that people have no voice in how the money that belongs to them and should be going to them is being used, even though it directly impacts their quality of life. The lack of transparency in government contracts. Museveni's administration often awards major government contracts without competitive bidding. He frequently, these contracts go to family members of Museveni, close political allies, businesses with strong political connections. This keeps people oppressed because people cannot often branch out into entrepreneurship and do different things because their government keeps them down. And this practice is sometimes normalized culturally by using public office to benefit one's family or community. It's not widely challenged. The consequences of these include inflated project costs due to lack of competition. We see low-quality public services, such as roads, hospitals, utilities, and legitimate companies without political ties are locked out of opportunities, reinforcing economic inequality. The fourth thing I'd like to touch on is political patronage and elite capture. Museveni's power is maintained through a network of loyalty rather than demographic accountability. Political patronage, high-ranking positions given to people based on loyalty, personal ties, not qualifications, public support, and in return, these officials protect Museveni's power and keep him where he is today. Officials often misuse state resources, such as military, police funding, for personal enrichment and political control. Government funds are regularly channeled into buying votes in rural areas, such as northern Uganda that we just touched on, and funding pro-Museveni rallies, also suppressing opposition activity. The 2021 election is a case study that we can use to see how this has played out in recent years. The opposition candidate, President Chagulanyi Robert, he is a popular musician turned to politician, became a serious threat to Museveni's hold on power back in recent years. His campaign appealed to the youth and economically struggling population, Leading up to the election, supporters faced violent clashes with security forces. Mr. Chagulanyi was arrested in November of 2020 and reportedly beaten, it sparked nationwide protests. The government's response was military and police crackdowns. Many were killed, many were beaten, and it was a very oppressive time in Uganda. There was internet shutdowns and media restrictions to control information flow. Social media blocked out to present opposition to organizing. And on election day, which was January 14, 2021, widespread reports of voter intimidation. There was allegations of ballot staffing and tampering. Polling stations ran by Museveni loyalists. And the outcome was Museveni was declared the winner. And Mr. Chagulani rejected the results, rightfully so, and claiming fraud. He filed a petition with the Supreme Court, and it was dismissed for lack of merit. And in reality, judiciary has been heavily influenced by the ruling regime. Once again, touching on to how people put in those places of power are loyalists to Museveni. The sixth thing I'd like to touch on is supporters' perspectives on Museveni. Despite the corruption allegations, many Ugandans, especially the wealthy elite, they support Museveni because they cite that he has brought stability after years of civil war and political unrest. They credit him with economic growth and improved infrastructure. Uganda enjoys relative peace compared to neighboring nations facing civil wars. And a critical note is much of this peace comes from military suppression and intimidation caused by the government. Supporters are often insulted from the daily struggles caused by corruption. 7. Why is changing this so hard? Corruption in Uganda is deeply embedded in the political and economic systems. As you can see, when Mr. Chagulani tried to bring about change by shedding light on how the election was not accurate, he was turned away by the Supreme Court instead of having it acknowledged as he should have. And seeing that widespread public mistrust of institutions. A lot of this fear that has been embedded in the citizens of Uganda has caused them to have a mistrust of institutions. So a lot of them have lost hope, they've given up, they think there's no point to voting or having a say because they know how it's going to play out. And many citizens have been conditioned to believe that their poverty is a result of personal failings. They speak on how this is bad luck and how it's just misfortune, but they're not educated on how this is a result of how their government has failed them and how it's continuing to fail them. Speaking out is also very dangerous in Uganda. When corruption is normalized, anti-corruption movements struggle to gain traction. Corruption is the normalcy in Uganda. Unlike in the United States where something like this happened and would cause an outrage, in Uganda, many people have grown up with Museveni as president, and this is all they've ever known. So telling them that it could be different would be hard to get them out of that mindset. So the path forward and what we can do to change this. We need a mind shift among officials in all different regions. Citizens should be viewed as purposive governance and not tools of personal gain. Educating the public about the true causes of immense poverty and poor services that they have been subjected to by their own government. Understanding that this isn't just bad luck, but a result of poor governance. Raising both national and international awareness through social media, and this is where we can engage our youth a lot and bring about a big change. And you see this in different ways. Every day you wake up and there's a hashtag going around for a different country and talking about the problems that they're facing. We can do that with Uganda as well, have Uganda be a main topic, and that can bring about a huge change. Resistance and protest, as well as the protest vote that we are sitting on as well, could eventually create change. Though this might cause an escalation before causing improvement, I think it's something that we need to go through so we can see a better Uganda. Lastly, I would like to say united citizen movements can dismantle even entrenched corrupt regimes. Having a united front can really bring Uganda change. Thank you so much for having me today.
People power. People power. Our power. People belongs to. People belongs to. Power belongs to. Is it true in Uganda? Is it true in Uganda? How can we do that? Question comes to you and me. How are we going to turn power to people? I'm going straight. My sister, she has mentioned everything, but I'm going to elaborate more in the Runyoro Rutoro Runyankore Ruchina. I'm a Munyoro. My name is Gisa Ahmad Abraham. I'm a Munyoro, Mutoro, mixed up. But I will try to mix both languages, Runyankore, Ruchiga. Owakamera, njagala recording evidently. Babitwale abantu b'owaitu basobole okubiwuura ebyenkuba okyati. Mukama waitu nkwijja kusooka kukozesa ekigambo kiyitibwa ekikogamba Mukama waitu asiimwe okole omusajja omulokole. Mukama waitu asiimwe. We welcome you all who are here in this diaspora for this wonderful or a trademark. Let this day be a day marked to change Uganda, not just to change, but to remove all ways of dictatorship. I have a few points which I'm going to go through, but I want you all. One, we talked about health. Tubalizemu habyobomezi. Abantu ba Munyoro, abantu ba Toro, abantu ba Mbarara, n'ahandi itwena kantu twale mu Western. Inywa Abaganda n'abala tulowooza tuli bulungi. We are the people who are really badly off. Nitwe tukusingayo kuba kubi. Nkwenda kutandikira kujja kubazayo omuntu omu okumanya ali popular oba abeera ali w'amaanyi akaba ali musajja muzibi bamwetaka kigamba alaali. Abamuwulire okusobola okuba ni mumumanya. Omusajja ogwo akaba ali muzibi yazinaga ebintu ebinkwata haihanga. As we see our president Robert Kyagulanyi. That man, he was a Kyagulanyi in Western region. If they ask you how he died, akavangemo. Akahika muliwao. Ekyenda kyesibi nti ebyoma tibyogeze ebyokumusembeza. How can kweli muprojekti nti ebyoma the equipments are not cleaned. So, someone who was supposed to clean the equipment was not on duty. Can that be an excuse? And the man died. Hakuba akabatali mulaini yeye. What inside the government okuyisana isana kabahuka. Gobo kaiwe omuko kwa kutera n'obula kutasara amatikano obisi. We are like insects. Do you want to stay as insects? Can you rise? You people who are in diaspora, you have a chance. You can speak. No one is going to touch on you. Let me leave that part. Let me go on another part. Most people they complain that Western, we are okay. We are yavugayo openly nti ninye wagwine mu basement naye ninyo n'abali hano mu diaspora mu kuhagira Museveni buzima that really teaching niyo mbere utandikaga niyo munyankole really and your fellow munyankole are torturing people and you get pride of what have you done to see the country become a proper country whereby we can all fit in and do something? You are nothing but eat. You can drink. You can come in this wonderful place. In where I'm going, bazere bali bakajyaga kusuka kakimu bayira bazere bali bagenda aserena wote kamba bayira mwana fire. I'm talking to you. I will not talk to those people. Mugambe bagenzi bano, tell your brothers back home. Open their ears, their mind. How can someone torture someone and come out openly? And you also say you're Uganda, and you also say you're human beings. You have a heart. You feel what that person is feeling, ready. Let us open up. Let us start something which can change Uganda. If we don't do it today, don't wait for tomorrow. Education. Yoweka sobera nyanseke, Mohoro, Kagadi. Now it is Kagadi district, by then it was Kibali. Abakumanya isobere itubali yetagawe njumunza. Wekugambe abakumanya oludiro kyetegereza. It was, by then it was a school. It was. I'm so proud I was among the best students in the district. I was a man. I'm not proud today. That school is no longer there. How many MPs are having their kids in UP? It is a UP school. How many? How many people are having their kids in those schools? Apart, everyone is taking. We are not proud of why private. How when you walk up to UP, all your social million in your center is so that you walk up down. But what's in here? The comedian is correct. Sometimes like Inchura Bunikara Ekeza. How to go away Bunikara, Yanseke, Mpura Masika Uganda. My sisters, my brothers, can we humanity? Do we have that? Now you're here, you're feeling it. When you leave that door, you become a different person. My brothers, my sisters, let us cooperate. Again, let us be one. Stop that foolishness. I'm a Uganda, I'm a between the iron. What don't we have? Above all, the best weather. We plant food, you don't have to water. And if at all we put that irrigation system, is there any country can have more food than we? We have everything in our country, but we are here. In my house, where I grew up, there is no this essence and so on. But if you want to find out, if you want to hear, we can go why. And see where I get him. One of them is me. I can't go home. Mama, I found out how you know what said and come and see. Would you pass struggle? It's the way I are going to go on Sunday. And go on Sunday, who have who will would kill. But everybody tell you there is no medication, even in Morocco. And you are here. Will you all afford to carry your people to bring them here for treatment? Me, I'm saying, what don't go back to you? In UGANDA, by Nisara, this time round, but you got to keep so. Will it ever be at all overworking if they don't sit together? But on because they have been new, they go out for treatment. Whether you are white, whether you are, then we can change the country. More especially those dictators. I'm winding up. Mongagira, I put a lot of time, but I feel a lot of pain inside me. I don't know whether you feel what I feel. I've talked about health. Lastly, a wood. Roads. Kampala, the city of Uganda is like I can't even laugh. A city, capital city. There is no roads. Omuntu wa mpefu, omuntu wa mugashara, omuntu wa buhimba. Let me say this one also. Yesterday, one of my best friends, abantu bange abandi baterera olimpo mu byabo. Bamutomere kandi bato. Emotoka ekaba. Abantu bakyali batira muhole. 19 people died because they had no way they can reach to the hospital. So they gave them a Peter. 19 they died because there was no any first aid. They took 6 hours to reach at the hospital. They died. Yesterday, Nkuru sasa mingi. Iwe owali kuparliament, council, chairman, name abali abayino souls. Let us work together for the better Uganda. Then we will come up. People power, our power, and you be everywhere. Thank you, Comrade Abraham. But then the pain is a lot. I will be more. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you so much, Comrade Abraham. I respect the fact that, however much sometimes we let stuff down, sometimes, we tend to get busy on those meetings that always hold on Wednesdays at the Boston chapter. That
gentleman will be there. Lockdown, where you're going to be. Thank you for that commitment. Please, let's do it. And the sister, for blessing, she had lectures coming up, so she had to run back to school. But that's very encouraging that she had to spare time and come discuss with us and share with us the knowledge. It's very important as Ugandans to instill the geopolitics that is back home into our children. You know, a lot of parents in America and the diaspora are less concerned about teaching our kids about Uganda. That's the biggest privilege. Let me tell you a bit about Uganda. Do you believe that the land they use in Israel to grow food was picked from Uganda?
Yes, we do.
So, do you believe that a day in the world they sell 2 billion cups of coffee, and Uganda has one of the best coffee that is sold in the world market? Do you believe that from the west coast to the east coast, from north to south in America, they try to plant coffee here, to cultivate coffee here, to grow coffee here, and it failed? In agricultural country, you just throw a seedling, you go back to sleep. After 3 months, you come and grab your meat and eat. That's how beautiful Uganda is. So, we have to resharpen ourselves, reawaken ourselves, and remember the task we have ahead. It's a huge task, but we have to keep pushing. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to invite Mtala Grace Chiwaka in a small session, then I'll take it.
Hey, I needed to make sure I know what my assignment is. So, people power. Our power. People power. NUP. Everywhere. NUP. Okay, good afternoon to you all. Mine is simple, is to help us focus. Focus on what is in front of us, and this is one major activity that we have to think about as we go through this conference. How are we going to resource the protest votes? That means individually, with friends, communities, and whichever. So, ideas are welcome, but we also need you as individuals to participate. So I just need to reiterate the messages that we put out in the morning. We will keep reminding you, and hopefully by the end of this conference, you would have made a determination of what commitment levels you might be able to participate and additional strategies that you think would be helpful. Okay, we have raffle tickets. Raffle tickets agent, Dr. Harriet Nanyoma. She's my sister. So you look for Grace's sister, that's she. She has raffle tickets, and those are sold $10 for 3 tickets. $10 for 3 tickets. Buy tickets for yourself, for your child, for your grandma, whoever you think about. Get them in the raffle, and then every day at the end of the main event, main activities, we will be having a draw. So hopefully we are ready for today's draw. If not at the end of this particular session, the evening session. So the other piece is pledge cards. The pledge cards are still being organized, but that is for you to think about at what pledge level as an individual. So that's another opportunity to participate, to contribute. On the pledge card, you will see the different contribution levels. The information was being posted on the screen. The pledge levels are 5 gold stars. The lowest gold star, star 1 starts at $30, not $1. $30 to $2.99, you get a gold star certificate. $300 to $5.99, you get 2 gold star certificates. encourage you, this is that. So when they say protest vote is to protest everything you don't like about Museveni, including how you're going to fund this campaign. So let him do whatever. Clean out the Bank of Uganda. Let him do. But we are going to do whatever it takes to do that which we must do for ourselves. That's us. We have control over that and we're going to do it. So we are protesting. We're going to massively mobilize. We're going to massively turn out the campaign, the vote. We have to massively protect that vote and defend it. I mean, fair. So that's the idea, that's the attitude. You're protesting with your action. You're doubling, extra doubling. Everything you do, you're doubling your effort through the. It's like here we are voting in protest. That's what it is. So tomorrow we will have I think with Dr. Kamal mentioned that information is really going out. But tomorrow we're going to open up this discussion of the protest boards fundraising to our friends that are not yet registered. So that activity during tomorrow is opening, the official opening. During the official opening, we're going to also have a global fundraising kickoff. And the idea is to open our experience here to the friends that are not in the room. So that it's global. Again, we are protesting because Museveni doesn't think that we have minds and ideas and can be creative and can do things that he doesn't have to buy us to do. We can do things just because we like to do that. So that's going to happen tomorrow. And we shall keep reminding you and reminding you. But I encourage you, don't be comfortable with the smallness of what you're doing. Agitate and challenge yourselves to do more. And then pray to God to give you discernment and to challenge yourself to do more. If you've been contributing 300, contribute, 3,000. And then figure out how to do that. We got an idea from Colorado. We can also commit and meet that commitment through installments. So those are all ideas that we welcome more. Thank you so much, Nancy.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you. I try to press you to the end of Minister of Ethics and be a good Minister of Ethics. Thank you. Round of applause to Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you feel comfortable in speaking any other language that is Uganda, please do. Mr. Abraham, webale muno. Naye obuzibu bwenayo bw'olwanga enzayi n'okwefunda. So, mujja kukwata muntegeera. Yeah, in our midst we have the aspiring member of Parliament of Tembe constituency in Busoga region. That's Honorable Maria Natali. She's here with us. And we are so much delighted. Museveni Warawa, the young people like her, he feels so intimidated because omwana toyotalinze kuweza miaka kirana ebisinzewo. You get it. So we have to break that chain, as I said. So ladies and gentlemen, we have drinks outside. You can go grab a refreshment outside. Please feel free. Anytime you can grab something. Also here with us, we have the engine. Allow me to introduce this gentleman. He's the engine behind everything we are seeing here. Please say what chairman of this event, who we are going to Comrade Moses. Yeah, so we're gonna have, lastly, allow me to recognize Mama Selena. Mama Selena is also here with us. Yes, our common fighter from Kenya. Remember, she's not a Ugandan. She's a Kenyan. So, she's here fighting with us. Mama, asante sana, nashukuru sana. Asante. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite Dr. Mtiawa. The times I've called him this time, he has fined me $20. So if I didn't call him this time, I would fine him $20. He's a landed man. So allow me to invite Dr. Mtiawa, John, take us through his ladies and gentlemen. The theme of this convention is that be the change that you need. Be that real change. Me as a person, I would love to drive on beautiful roads. Me as a person, I would love to go to hospitals and find medicine. Me as a person, I would love to make a 911 call, and in 3 minutes the ambulance is at the door. So that's the theme of this convention. Be the change that you, in fact, I would say, be the change that you badly need, because we need it badly. We need it as soon as 2001, when Museveni first said that I will retire in 2001. So they will have a deficit of about 24 years. Because Museveni said I will retire in 2001. Then he said I will retire in 2006. Since then he forgot about retiring. So this is a working convention, and be the change that you badly. Manake mwanzikilize ngakunda Dr. Mbandulire Mama Maria, Jaja Maria, naye wali abakumukule kugarukamu nanjiriza okugaruka yabusinga mujjukira oya tugamba mutawuni gw'olwo batuka opposition naye nga yakuba ddattewo kimuligerera. So thank you. Thank you.
So everybody know. Ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Thank you so much. I'm waiting for the helper over there to get the slides going. All right, as you can see, our topic today, and this is Mr. Chiwabuza, also from, he's actually the leader in Minnesota, the leader of Nup. And fortunately enough, he comes from the Busoga region, and as the protest fought in eastern Uganda. So he's going to play a role there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here today. I see some faces from that I've seen on Facebook, and I see someone from London. Thank you so much for being here. Honorable Maria, thank you very much for being here. I will introduce the topic, the introduction to it. We are going to talk about Eastern Uganda in general, which encompasses sub-regions of Busoga, Bukedi, Bugisu, Sebe, Teso, and Karamoja. And these account for 10 million Ugandans, according to the most recent population 2022. Despite the rich agricultural land, gold deposits in Karamoja, and hydropower assets around Jinja, the region candidate development, strategic electoral infrastructure, and diaspora support. And diaspora support is important because I heard Ms. Grace there talk about it, that we are going to play a big role by contributing to the effort. And this framework seeks to transform Eastern Uganda into a model of democratic engagement and socio-economic renewal. Let's give an overview of Eastern Uganda, the demographics, the economy, and the challenges. Eastern Uganda, as I just mentioned, has over 10 million people, concentrated in urban areas like Jinja, Mbale, Soroti, while the rural areas suffer low access to services. Based on Uganda Bureau of Statistics again, voter turnout historically lags behind, averaging 55% versus 68% nationally. But opposition momentum in 2021, as you saw it, and these are numbers based on figures coming from the government, but we know that they were higher. They are saying that we are moving on from about 21% to over 68%, indicating latent civic energy, and that's based on the Electoral Commission figures. Economic assets. Agriculture in Busoga and Teso comprise Uganda's rice and sugarcane belt. And I think I can be supported with World Bank, the World Bank 2021. Yet the farmers there do not see the results. They earn 30% below the national average due to lack of local processing. We have gold in Karamoja, and as you know, Uganda, the gold in Karamoja earns $120 million annually, yet very little is reinvested back there. Only less than 5% is reinvested in Karamoja. That's according to African Development Bank 2023 report. Hydropower in Jinja, we do have 180 megawatts of hydropower, which is around 30% of the national capacity. Yet the local communities do not receive or only receive intermittent electricity. The socio-economic challenges, as we know, poverty and unemployment in rural areas range from 45 to 60%, versus the 21% national average, and that's according to the World Bank report. Youth unemployment exceeds 40%, fueling migration and disenfranchisement. Infrastructure deficits, only 30% of rural roads are paved. One health center serves 30,000 people, well below the World Health Organization figures. Land governance, we have frequent evictions driven by opaque leases. 60% of land disputes in Uganda originate from Eastern Uganda. That's according to the Human Rights Watch of 2021. Illustrative study, we can see that the people in Tanzania and Chigoma, they were able to use $15 million cooperative to create the rice mill initiative, which increased farmers' incomes by over 40% in a period of 5 years. So that's African Development Bank 2023. This demonstrates the potential localized value chains and cooperative governance lessons directly transferable to Soga and Teso regions. In 2021, Nup captured 30% of the vote in Jinja, 25% in UGANDA, and according to the numbers provided by the government, so we know that those numbers were even higher. So what does Nup have? What's the Nup strategy? Where do we go from here? The policy pillars. How can we transform that region? We can do that through agricultural transformation. Establish 200 cooperatives, each with 50% government grant. By 30% within a short period of time. We have to provide technical skills by doubling the vocational enrollment in Authority, partner with diaspora technical schools to provide online education, and entrepreneurship by launching a $5 million microloan fund for startups targeting at least 1,000 new enterprises by a short period of time after Nup takes power. Land rights and clinics to provide 10,000 land titles and resolve 5,000 disputes in a short period of time. To eastern districts, and rehabilitate more than 500 kilometers of rural roads. Mineral revenue, we have to ensure that Karamoja, at least, we have to amend the Mineral Act so that Karamoja can at least retain 25% of royalties to local development in Karamoja. Diaspora integration. We have to leverage the remittances we give. Every year, Ugandans abroad send over $1 billion to Uganda. We have to leverage that so it goes to the areas so there is an equitable provision of resources to eastern Uganda, because as we saw, it has over 10 million residents, which is almost a quarter of the Ugandan population. Strategic pillars to protest work implementation. So I'll go through these really quick because they seem almost similar to what previous person had recommended, but I'll just highlight a few that are a little bit different. We recommend that we recruit over 1,200 polling agents and institute rapid response unit to incident documentation via USSD codes. I know she talked about the social media. We have to use digital and diaspora-driven campaigns, deploy SMS platforms to send a lot of SMS messages. So Nup has to get a database of all supporters and increase those numbers and be able to have key performance indicators showing that, yes, we have improved in these areas. So we have to have data in order to be able to get those key performance indicators. And we have to focus on Karamoja because justice, as we saw, there was a time when Southern Sudan was providing most of the oil to Sudan. However, most of the proceeds from the oil was going to Northern Sudan. So, as you saw, Sudan was broken into two, and now all the oil is in Southern Sudan, and goes back to Karamoja, or is reinvested in Karamoja. How do we counter state control? We have to provide training to over 500 field volunteers, distribute 300 secure USB drives with digital rights, orchestrate 50 community caravans, and 200 murals showcasing new messaging. Well, in conclusion, as you can see, Eastern Uganda is a very pivotal area because it's a quarter of Uganda's population, and if we want to take power, we need to ensure that these important transformational changes are put in consideration. And so I would like to provide this paper to the team here so that it can be on record for our research that we did to make sure that Eastern Uganda is a good place to live. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Doctor. Another round of applause to Dr. Thank you, Doctor, so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are soon thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, any time from now, we're going to be joined by the President, the 10th President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Robert Charles Center, is going to be joining us. So if you want to grab a refreshment, we have tea and coffee the other side. Then Amasi and everything is the other side. So please grab yourself something to warm you up or to cool you down as we move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, twagala okubatuliza nti there is going to be a fundraising event through our raffles, and please let's engage, let's involve ourselves in this, because surprisingly it was so shocking when our dear Secretary General, last time said Museveni used 900 billion for the campaigns. 900 billion. In fact, that's almost a trillion. One or if you count Zambia Munguzao campaign here, or 1 trillion plus. Imagine a national medical store, but you are 900 billion to operate for a full year. But in a period of 3 months, they used 900 billion. So, being in charge for 40 years, and no one asks you because if you're married here, that's what Jacob was a civil. Not as a good time to allow. At least there should be some scrutiny. When no one can put in yam, civil the name is at that in the world. Civil no power of the world. But imagine, one big one, and Jacob goes in a dollar community in the world. That's the system we need. And it's our duty to fight hard and change stuff back home. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite Comrade Mbayo. Comrade Mbayo Richard is also an aspiring member of Parliament in Uganda. the National Unity Platform, njagala obatukiza gyawezezza emyaka 5. Emyaka 5 egy'okusumba Nakyemanya, emyaka 5 egy'okumufuula capital. Mu myaka 5 Museveni akadiddemu emyaka nga 12. Because in Uganda, when they are taking pictures of him, check out makeup, check out filter. But whenever they take pictures when he's outside of Uganda, things are different. When they took pictures in Tanzania, the last picture they took was in Kenya. So check out cameraman take out filter. So ladies and gentlemen, we have a presentation from Comrade Richard Bayo. He's in Bukit region, so he's an aspiring member of parliament, and inshallah.
Thank you, comrade. Yeah, good evening, comrades. People power, our power. Wow. My name is Richard Bayo, and I'm here on behalf of 3 chapters: Washington chapter and California chapter, as well as Colorado. And there's a reason why I decided to be the last presenter of the day, because we were given one of the most important regions in Uganda, that's Uganda, others call it Central Region. Why are we talking about Uganda? Uganda, maybe talk up is it holds the capital city, you know what it means. We have the highest population. Just guys, DJ work on the system so that we can proceed with the data. Please, all right. Yeah, the topic today we are discussing is turning this content into votes, mobilizing Central Region for a protest to vote and defending the people's victory. We all know that in 2021 our victory was stolen, but now what's the way forward? That's why we said no. As California, Washington, and Colorado, we were given responsibility of the most important region in Uganda, being Central, because they have power, they have the highest population, and like everything, it has to be done from Central Uganda, also known as Uganda. Why? Because as a political scientist, government only goes to change from the capital. I've never heard of where the government was overthrown from up country, because power is within the central. That's why we need to discuss the way forward. How are we going to support the Uganda region or Central region to ensure that we have power, we have change we need in Uganda. Second slide. So we are looking at Uganda have a critical, faces another critical election next year, but we don't need to talk about next year. The issue is today, because from 2 weeks from now, members of parliament are going to be going for nominations and that is 16th, so we need to be prepared. 2026 is just for election. Elections on 12th of January. However, we need to prepare ourselves today. But how are we prepared? Yeah, and 2021 Uganda region was overwhelmingly voted for NUP, so that's an advantage. Within Uganda region, we have about 57 MPs of our party. That's very important. We have to build on that. So, in the first election, which was our first time, if we manage to get 57, how are we going to do this time? So, we shall be discussing in what as we go on. Yeah, so there's our strategy focusing on the mass mobilization, because for every week, if you mobilize people, if you have the numbers at the end of the day, you will win. But last time we mobilized, but there are some issues that we'll be discussing. We need to improve as we go on. Yeah, winning is not enough. We must defend the people's victory. Honestly, you know what happened in 2021? The out of internet, and electoral commission started uploading results. Then after some time, they removed it because they were not turning. There was not tallying, right? So they had to remove such things. So now, how we prepare in an election? We call it our protest vote, but how we prepare when there is no internet? We have to be sure that they don't turn off internet, because they know the power of internet. Next slide. Yeah, what is a protest vote? A protest vote is a vote cast in an election to demonstrate a dissatisfaction with a choice of candidates for the current political system. Why? Why do you go to a protest vote? Guys, look at 40 years down the road. I'm 35 years old, so I was born under 73. Imagine, I'm 35 now, I'm also looking for office, but I'm saying is still wants to lead our country or God. So our massive, as Colorado, Washington, and California chapter, we agreed that this is how we're going to work on what a protest vote. One of the key pillars is mass mobilization. We need to do mobilization, and shall be talking about door-to-door campaigns to help us and mobilize our people. Informed participation. Information, one wise man said, information is power. Because if you are informed, at least you can help to what election as a member. So if you are informed, it will help us in this struggle. Because at least you are entering this in the work with something, with some knowledge, that will help us. Voter protection, that's I think one of the biggest challenges we had in the previous elections. But now, how are we prepared? Yes, we can excuse ourselves that NUP in 2021 was just a party. Remember, it was formed in 2020, but now we have no excuse. We have the river results at the end of the day. These 5 years, I call it 5 years experience, I believe we have learned, and now we have to deliver the new Uganda promise to the Ugandans. And post-election vigilance, we need to be vigilant. And in the next slide, we shall talk about how, in 2 details, how we should be vigilant. Because the reason why you call it a protest vote is not after voting, but the post-voting, that's the most important, post-election. Because we are voting on 12th of January, and probably on 14th, they declare a winner. But how we prepare for that transition is also very important. And it must be powerful, peaceful, lawful, but so we have to be ready for everything. Yeah. Talk about Uganda or Central Region. Yeah, Central Region, also known as Uganda, greatly contributed to the independence movements in Uganda. As I said, we hold the capital city, and as I said, of course, every government, capital city is very important, because that's where administrative power is. The political consciousness of right and activism. Yeah, Kampala and our Central Region, also, as I call it, Uganda is the most, they are politically, they have access to information which are compared to us as a regions, compared to us as a regions. Yeah, elections. Since 2000, Central Region have been in opposition for some good time. What does that imply? It means that if these are strongholds, the Central Region, we have to use it. Our people, we deliver what the win we need next year. Central Region, we have 26 districts with over 11 population census. However, I summarize Western summarize 3 important districts. Talk about Kampala. Kampala hosts over 1.8 million people who are residents in Kampala, and Wakiso, which is the biggest district in terms of population, with 3.3 million people, and Kono with 0.9 million people, making a total population of 6 million. Now, how are we going to use this 6 million? Because I will continue repeating this so that at the end of this discussion, you know how important these 3 districts are. Why? We have the parliament in Central, and within those 3 districts, we have the judiciary within those 3 districts I mentioned, and another what I talk about is like the State House. We need, so if there are no election, how to manage the State House to take over our victory. So the emphasis on those 3 districts, please, but take me on the back on the other slide. I need to emphasize that point. The previous slide. Yes. Kampala is the capital city, with over 1.8 million people, Wakiso over 3.3, and Kono. These 3 districts, people are informed, the young people are willing to watch have voted. But how are we going to energize these people to ensure that we take this victory? Even if we have only 1 million people after elections, it will help us. Because if you are out of those 6 million suburbs, people who live within Kampala region, and you have only 1 million people to march, it will help us as like the beginning. Let me take you through in 2020. When there was a protest, when His Excellency Robert Chagulanyi was arrested in Lubuka, and demonstrations started in Kampala. When Kampala started burning, as a region is also what? So what does it mean? When Kampala talks as a region, listen. So we need to pay emphasis on that. Next slide. Yeah, this is still the Uganda region, and as I said, the largest voting bloc, the heart of resistance, and in 2021, the overall leaders have voted for NUP, and it plays a central role in what Uganda's political election. It decides who becomes the president at the end of that day, because in terms of the population, is where over 11 million people reside there, and a protest vote here sends a national message. So how Uganda speaks of central region as a region stand from that. As I said, we saw it in 2020 when there was demonstrations in Kampala, as a region also started burning up. So how are we going to use our safe haven very well? Like, it's very important. Next slide. Yeah, this is the political mode in Uganda, or called central region. Those pictures you are seeing is like, this was on November 18th when His Excellency Robert Chagulanyi was arrested. November 2020, over 57 people were killed based on what the government reports. And right now, look at the abductions. Most of the abductions are done with Talking about another slide is about social media. Right now, social media is very important. Digital and campaign, digital and media campaigns, vote watch campaign, such as WhatsApp groups. Imagine, like for me as a candidate, I have like over 3 WhatsApp groups. The administrators, the general supporters, and the executive. Those WhatsApp groups, once you have a message, distribute that message to ordinary people. Translate the local one's language so that that message can enter their soul, and then also translate, send it to different communities. Imagine if you have 100 groups and you keep sharing that message. At the end of that day, you are sharing enlightening as a people. Yeah, then we should continue having regular spaces. TikTok lives, we are doing this. However, I encourage our party, especially our party, despite the Department of Communication, to improve. We need an election. Where we are heading, I remember, I think you remember what happened in the 2020 election. There was a lot of propaganda. How are we going to control propaganda? And another concept, the state always hires these guys, and we lose focus. This time, we shouldn't lose focus. The state can come up with different diversions, and then we lose our interest. No, we should focus on what? On our message. Yeah, then, as I said, that do we need a party stand to guide on how online soldiers spread the information? I think on our perspective as California, Washington, and Colorado states, we believe that it's high time for our political party, which is NUP, to give guidance, because we have some of those good soldiers that are doing a great job, but they need some kind of give some enlightenment, give some more light, right? So that our message is put forward in the right way. Why? Because the state media, talking about the mainstream media, has been censored. So the real platform we have is like social media. So how we use it is very important going forward. Yeah, please try to minimize so that people see the message. Minimize the slide. Yes, thank you. So we are talking about the challenges of 2021 and how we're going to fix it. One of the challenges we had last time is no vote protection. We reached from Eastern Uganda, regardless I'm presenting from Central, because I belong to California, and California was given that. So vote protection was one of the biggest challenges we faced in the previous election. We had polling agents throughout the country, but the state, towards the end, they started picking up these agents. So how are we going to avoid this? And if you pick up a polling agent at a polling station, it means that it gives room for them to change their form results. So right now, as we are entering this election this time, we should focus at least appointing 3 people at one polling station. In case the arrest is violent, you have another person to replace, so that our vote is being protected. That's one of the issues. Internet was blocked, but now how are we going to do it? And I'm very sure that even in 2026, they're going to do the same. So how are we survive without internet? I would encourage our secretariat that this time let us use SMS message. Most smartphones, especially iPhones, you can take a picture and forward that via phone. We don't need internet, you can send a picture. That's very important. So going forward, what we recommend as West states or chapter is that what we need to do, every polling agent should have a smartphone, because at least after taking the declaration of results form, the DLR form, send it to the secretariat, we are safe. I know they will come and pick it, but at least you have a soft copy. At the end of the day, by the time they manipulate this, you have the original copy which has been forwarded. So it means you can send a text message without using internet. So I know that's why tomorrow we are officially launching the fundraising. Now if you are suggesting that we need and according to protest plan. Honestly, after election, one of the challenges that Museveni has been using is like, okay, once you arrest the leader, it is done, you know? So it was uncoordinated. Some few people, you know, if you go to the street like 100, all over the police will come and take you, but what we're suggesting right now, why can't we start mobilization right now? So that if it's like, okay, the dictator has taken over our victory, why can't we move out in our numbers? And the only way to avoid that is like, we need to defeat fear. Once we defeat fear, nothing can stop us. The challenge number 4, it is emerging leadership. We all know that in 2021, most of the top leadership were their first timers in politics. However, right now, we have 5 years experience. At least we have with these 5 years, from 2020, we have been seeing our systems running. We expect something at the end of the day, because we had excuse in 2020. The president was the first time, the secretary kept like, okay, you know, it's just a revolution, like they marched. So we had leadership challenges, but now we have 5 years. We should have used these 5 years plan and prepare for what? Going forward, especially next year's election. So as I said, that the good news is that now the leadership have got 5 years of experience. And these 5 years, if you start from 2020 up to now, those are 5 years. So we have no excuse going forward. Next slide. Yeah, the post-election strategy. That's very important, because after voting, what next? So what the dictator has been doing, or let me just say, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. I expect different results. You know, one of the wise men once said, Albert Einstein, you know, you are like doing the same thing every day. It's like, okay, you are eating maybe cassava every day, and you say, oh, I'm not looking nice. But you're not balancing, you don't have balanced diet, and how do you expect to look nice, you know? So that's what the wise man said. So you can't be doing the same thing and expect different results. What's the point here? In the previous elections, in 2026, Museveni arrested Kizza Besigye. In the previous election, Robert Chagulanyi, our president, was put into house arrest. What dictator does, like, okay, if you arrest him and put him to house arrest, you keep him for 3 months. Once he's swear in, and you release him, and that will affect the political mood. After 3 months, like people have lost hope, you know. So going forward, what we have planned, what we have decided, this time our leadership after voting, they should return home, because if you return home after voting, you are going to be put into house arrest. They keep you for 3 months. We wait for May 26. The guy swears in. Then they release. After, imagine you're voting in January. The guy is going to swear in May. Those 4 months, people would have lost hope. By the time you say, oh, let us go back on the street, people would have gone out on life. So going forward, we say, no, it's just a suggestion. We should, our leadership, top leadership, after voting, why should we return home? We are in a struggle. We have to make it real this time different, you know. And we have two questions to our leadership. So, are we building leaders who can lead from the front, or are we repeating the history with MPs and councillors who disappear after ballot and going to swear in? Those are the challenges we had in the previous election. Most of our MPs, they were self-seekers. They never went outside on the street to mobilize people. So they were just, since I'm born as a member of parliament, let me just wait for my time. And our leader was betrayed. So how are we going to do differently? I think that question goes to our election management committee. Because now, on 20th, they start voting. So if we repeat such challenges, you give someone self-centered or self-seeker, okay, after winning as a member of parliament, they just keep quiet. All the rest they can do, they post something on social media and stays back home. He stays back home. That one will say, help us. We need leaders who will take the work action. Like today, for me, as in bio, I can command my people from my constituency. However, this time is far. We need those who are big, all leaders from the central, we should lead by example. Making a post, okay, I support demonstrations us go outside and lead by example. We should be the frontliners at the end of the day. Next slide. Yeah, overcoming the regime tactics. Yeah, this picture was taken in on December 30th. This was in Karangara. You know, they arrest you, they isolate you. So once you are isolated, you have your team, like these guys were kept in like over 4 months in prison. So if you, like the leadership, the campaign team, all the entire campaign team was arrested. So it means the president was left alone. That affects us. So going forward, we shouldn't be having like one team. We need to have like 3 teams prepared. Let this one be like is known with the entire public, but with the media, that is the team, the campaign team. Once they arrest them, at least you have other people to take over the mantle and continue with the struggle. That's what we are suggesting, because this tactics was used in 2020 and we still seeing signs of being repeated. For instance, most of our foot soldiers, especially those around the president, talk about Edmund is in the prison. You know, most of those guys around him are arrested. Why? They're in prison. Because they know that once I take these guys and I isolate him, it's like you are weakening him. So our leadership should like, okay, we should be always having what? Backup. The question is, how prepared are we to confront and overcome such tactics? 2026 election leaves no room for lamentations. We must deliver the victory to what? To Ugandans. A win is a win. Regardless of some guys will support football. Even if you get a penalty and you score, it's a win. So, guys, we should stop being nice guys. Why? In politics, I would like to use the example of the current Prime Minister of India. If you read his history, when he was hated by the West. Why? But I think one of his decisions he made, he cut off the hand of the corrupt officials. But once after taking power, right now they're celebrating him. What do we need to do? We should, I'm not saying that we should be radical, but I'm saying that we should do things different this time. We shouldn't be nice guys in politics. I know that the leadership is getting this message. We shouldn't be nice, like especially in the Western in Western times, because in the Western countries. Because why is that? As long as the current regime serves their interests, they will always let us wait on heavens. State Department will issue statement. The election was not free and fair. Then the following day, you will see the ambassador attending inauguration. You know. What does that imply? They don't care. As long as their interests are still protected, they are not on our people. So, protest vote should be a localized mission based on our we, the foot soldiers. We are the one to bring the change we need. Next slide. Yeah, still post-election strategy. This picture you see, it was, I think, published 2 weeks. No, like, yeah, on August 5th, that is the Observer, one of the respectable newspapers in Uganda, how election will be story in 2026. For me, I had time and read it. And I thought it's very important as a leadership to learn and get prepared. Because, for instance, if you look at NRA, they have like over 18 registered voters, only NRA. And you know, it's like, it was like a translation of the previous. They use the national data to make it a political data. You know, it's like you are using total number of voters in the country, then you select like 80% to be on your side. So we need to, going forward, we need to work on such things. Yeah, Uganda region election defense task. We as California, Washington, and Colorado states, we believe that we need to come up with legal, medical, clergy, and data teams. Data teams implying that we shouldn't need like to have this team shouldn't be known, like, because you know if you are known or by the side of this, they will come and arrest him. But it means that by Because I know, I'm very sure that towards the end or towards the election, our political party, our headquarters may be surrounded, as it has been the game, you know. If this was still a strong political party, they should do that. And even NUP, you know what happened. So we should establish a paratary center, which is invisible to the state mafias. Then talk about the rapid action protocol. This includes setting religious events and market closures. Like this, we're talking about post-election now. They are bringing the election. What do we need to do next? So yeah, we have to close the markets because we cannot continue preaching these things and we don't, and there is no change, you know. Then the role, towards the end, talk about the role of the diaspora. We are here in the diaspora. The diaspora plays a very important role, especially special, if I can call it, our chapters talk about California. One of the key chapters which are like facilitating our struggle back home. So the diaspora have to mobilize mass protests and engage in key government offices. We have to continue knocking the doors. This goes to special message to Karibu Tami has been doing this. So we need to continue knocking what those key government doors. Civic education, I talked about it as a summary. So for us as in the diaspora, we need to find what the central region, since we are given to take care of that region. Then train digital activists to lead online political engagements. The reason why this is very important is that when you train these soldiers, they're going to help us to fight what these state versions of propaganda. Because if they're informed, at the end of the day, you know, they'll be able to take that and say, no, this is just a state propaganda, so we shouldn't pay attention. I talked about paratary centers and coordinate border protection. We need to defend our border at the end of that day. So in conclusion, Uganda must not only vote, we must raise Uganda because we are the biggest region in the country. We have the capacity, we are the most informed, we have the resources, so we must raise that. Yeah, you may steal the vote, but you won't steal our voice. This time, we shouldn't be silenced. The music is up, you know. Yeah, 2026 is our opportunity. Let us not waste it. So we are going to end up with this strategy. So going forward, that's some of the issues we have discussed as a chapter. And Akatareka, next slide. Yeah, Akatareka, as I was introduced, comrades, that's my poster. I'm officially in campaign because I know diaspora is so good, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't like to bring my family here. So if I bring my family, what will happen does it mean that I have to bring even my grand relatives? It's impossible. However, I said no, let me return home and build Uganda. And as in Bible, I can't do it alone. We need to support guys. As I said, I'm just 35 years. I've spent most of my time in academia doing research and schooling, so haven't gotten time to work and get resources. However, we can deliver this win together. Whatever it we can afford at the end of the day, support our mission. You know, with just $10, with just $10, we are reaching our messages to seven families, which means that we are able to print posters to help our people spread their message. Thank you so much. I remain Richard Imbayo on behalf of California, Washington, Colorado. Thank you.
Another round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Comrade Richard. Waliwo akantu kesitategeera mu basajja abakola PhD awo. Ateekako erinnya kompyuta alala akagamba PhD. Tegeeza ki? Nange ntegeko JKP7. Yeah, but I'll find out from Dr. Bayo. Yeah, comrades, in one of the discussions here, I was following Comrade Bayo. There is a slide that you put out there, and and they said, Wakiso Mukono and Kampala, those three districts have 11 million people. 6 million people. So the central, the whole central is 11 million people. Comrades, I think Twetagaya will immediately give you. And I know we have these young people. We don't need a lot of people. You know, there is, I was speaking to a Zimbabwean colleague of mine, and he told me the reason as why Mugabe managed to capture them for all those years. They said in Zimbabwe, there's a lot of educated people. So in this environment of so many educated people, everyone has a master's. PhDs are like, they are flying around. So when you tell a PhD holder to go forward on the front line to fight Museveni, they will say, I can't die with all my brain. They retreat. If you tell a PhD holder to go on the front line and fight, they will tell you get that. I'll not go. So they kept themselves in that captivity. That's why we'll have to look at the young people around your car. But there should be the brains in front to restructure the plan on how Museveni is going to be exiting. We know very well that Museveni is no longer in charge. Yeah, you know that. Museveni is no longer in charge. If you see how rampant the child, the boy, the son is throwing statements on social media, shows you that he's no longer in charge. And the funny thing is, whenever you want to speak about the son, always have to attach the father. So he has not built his legacy. Last time, when the European Union visited Genocide at his residence in Bulu, this is a general and also an uncle to the son. Genocide was like, I'll try to speak to him and I'll see if he will not do the same thing tomorrow. Imagine, you're telling people that let your son stop torturing people in his basement. And the uncle is saying, I'll try to speak to him, but I don't know what he'll be tweeting tomorrow. That's a mess. So that shows you, Saleh is not in charge. Museveni is not in charge. It's Moses who is in charge. So, we have to back up ourselves. We have to stand still. There is a war to fight. When Museveni went to the bush in 1986, you know, in the bush there is snakes, there is mosquitoes. In America they call it mosquitoes. There is mosquitoes, there is the rain, heavy rains, a lot of diseases, malaria and everything. Those people were very uncomfortable being in the bush and decided to push so hard so that they get to those beautiful homes and leave the bush. You see? So you fight knowing tomorrow you don't want to sleep in Garamba forest. You fight knowing tomorrow you don't want to sleep in Goma forest. Tomorrow I have to sleep in Kororo. Because we know they just captured those houses, those beautiful homes that India have built. So those officer places in Kororo, they captured, they took over all those buildings. So these people are very uncomfortable. But somehow I feel we are fighters who are comfortable. We are fighters who are given the luxury of feeling the chaos sometimes when you're driving the beautiful roads of America and you're cruising around in your Highlander, your BMW, your Dodge. You're like, Neta, bro, they need $100 from you. The stock needs $200 from you, not $10. So, learn to remember that in your comfort zone, you have to be uncomfortable for the millions back home, for the cousins, for the sisters, for the brothers you have. I know all of us here come from extended families. In the Navaganda, 15 of them. So, there's a friend here, I know. That's why I have a. So, however rich he gets here in America, cannot help the seven siblings. It's next to impossible. So the only solution is reminding ourselves of the duty we have as Ugandans, as the people of this generation, that have a big role to play. Do you know what Uganda? Some people will say, if I have to come convention, you went there. If I have to come convention, you did. Then the professor said, you get it down. Then someone, Dr. Mai will come and speak again. Dr. John will come and speak again. I'm a Muslim. And whenever we go to Eid prayers, they remind us how Abraham did not sacrifice his son because God sent him a sheep to sacrifice. Since I was a kid, that's what they are preaching on Eid. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a message of reminder. Do you know what you can do? You know what Zamu? Do you know what you can do? Manager say, oh, they kill people in Uganda. They kill people in Kasese. These are things, they kill people in Burucho, in Achol, in Itesu. These are things that we're forgetting. They kill people during the 19th and 18th of November, before the election, 2020. They kill people, shooting randomly on the streets. At least $1 come and let me sacrifice for the struggle. And now, you all know here, President of the President Japan is not broke. You know that. He can take care of his family. Never to see the siblings also doing well. President Jawan, I am a chairman, and I'm sitting in Nyumba. No. President Jawan, as he did here in Nyumba. No. This is about their wealth. It's a German one. I know. There are people that are calling you every single day. There are people who have called you from your village, from your home in the morning. At least, if your people are wealthy, there are people that you help at your village. You know, money to charge them. Those who think that are coming up, is you now, or if they Trump Tower, the poor. You're charging $10 to charge. Now, Trump Tower. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have to remind ourselves of the role we have in rescuing Uganda. Tulinayo surprise paper presentation from one of our comrades. Our comrade in bio will be the last one. Our MP. But if you need a surprise discussion from our comrade brother, comrade Hillary Taylor Sebuya. I get that we sit down, small slide briefly, then we can see other programs. I'm told the president will be joining us shortly, and you know, later, we're going to be having the First Lady. We're going to be having the First Lady have us in a session to get and please, let's try to be there. Then we go and refresh a little bit, then we do the First Lady later of the session. So, you're welcome.
People power. Our power. I was a scout in my childhood, and they used to tell us that scout, our motto was be prepared. So they always prepared. I was, reached out, and they were asking me, do you have anything to talk about? I was like, no, I didn't have anything, but I've been talking about lots of things, from climate change to human rights, to political rights, everything. So today I said, let me talk about corruption. Because corruption is the cancer we are dealing with in the government of Uganda. So I'm going to present about the political corruption in Uganda. All the problems we are facing, or we're dealing with in Uganda, we are dealing, with them because of corruption. And as the late Pope Francis said, that corruption is paid by the poor. The rich don't pay for corruption. It is us, the Wananchi, the ordinary Ugandans, the poor Ugandans, who are always paying back the huge price by politicians who are borrowing irresponsibly just to steal government resources. So we are saying enough is enough. We need to teach people a bigger picture of how corruption is in Uganda so that everyone can understand. Let's go to the next slide, please. So my research question is, how have corruption scandals persistently troubled dictator Dr. Museveni for the past 40 years has been in power? And the thesis is saying that despite Uganda having a strong legal and institutional framework, corruption remains high due to impunity and consolidation of presidential power, which is catalyzed by his bad governance. Next slide, please. So this is my flow of the presentation. So first, I talk about the introduction of what corruption is, then the methodology I used. I give a background of corruption in Uganda. I talk about the legal and institutional frameworks we have in Uganda. Then what is causing corruption for the last 40 years or since Uganda was born. The impacts corruption is having to our economy, and also some of the case studies that we used to come up with this presentation, and then lastly conclude this presentation. So everyone is going to ask, what is corruption? So many scholars give different definitions of what corruption is. So looking at Oslo and where they say that corruption is the misuse of public office for private gain. So many of our politicians or public servants, they are misusing their offices for their individual benefits. And it is also a reality that the majority of us are corrupt, even including here in this hall. We've been corrupt in different ways, like we're going to discuss. Sometimes we're corrupting a police officer not to give you a ticket. That is a form of corruption. You don't have to be in political office. So there are lots of forms of corruption. Sometimes you're engaging in corruption when you don't know. Sometimes you're asking for kickbacks. And you're not aware that you're also a victim of this cancer we're dealing with. So these are the forms of corruption. One, there is embezzlement. We've seen how different politicians in our country have embezzled lots of funds. And then two, there is vote buying and rigging. So some people don't know that vote rigging is a different form of corruption. So if you pay someone maybe $50 shillings, or if you give them a packet of salt, a bar of soap, you're corrupting the voters. So we have to look at all these means of corruption in Uganda. Then extortion, we've seen how extorting money from us. Sometimes you're going to ask to renew your driver's license or to get a passport, and people are extorting money from you. Sometimes you want to get a business license to ensure that you invest in our business environment, take that money home. But again, people who are in those offices, they're extorting money from you in order for you to get the service that you want to get from those offices. Then there is patronage. You've seen how the dictator Museveni, in the last 40 years, he has mastered the art of patronage. He's using the money to buy off opponents. So look at Joyce Sebugwao. She was a very strong academy in FDC. But right now, she's connecting with the junta. Look at Betty Kamil. She used to be the leader of the Federal Alliance. And now she's gone. The Minister of Justice, Norbert Mao, is in the armpits of the dictator. So if we don't also, fight against this, we may end up being swallowed by this dictator, Museveni. So that's why we must avoid this. Then there's bribery as the last form of corruption. Next slide, please. So this is the background corruption in Uganda. I start by giving a corruption perception index by Transparency International. So Transparency International is going to help us with the rankings to know how corrupt is Uganda in the rest of the world. So we are ranking 141 out of 180 countries in the world, according to Transparency International, which is a bad signal because if you look at the table, it's so small, like on the far right, below corner, it was shown that in 1996, Uganda was ranking 43, but today we are ranking 141 as the most corrupt in Uganda, in the world rather. Then I talk about dictatorship. So we've been stuck with once, snail dictator, the word of Dr. Museveni has been in power, oppressing, repressing, and suppressing us for 4 decades. And who knows, because he wants to become a lifetime dictator. But our generation, we are saying that has to come to an end. We must end tyranny. So if you fail to end tyranny today, then you're going to be held accountable by the young generations, mainly the Gen Zs that are looking at us. So Museveni has been trading on a promise of, I have zero tolerance of corruption, but he has failed. We have corruption. Then I talk about the good laws. Uganda is known as one of the best countries with the best laws when it comes to fighting corruption. But when it comes to implementation, we are the worst. So we have to think about different ways as the NUP, with the new Uganda promising how we're going to implement these laws without impunity to ensure that those who are corrupt, they're held accountable. I talk about also the HIPC. It means Uganda is a heavily indebted poor country because we've been borrowing irresponsibly and endlessly from institutions like the World Bank, the IMF, the Exim Bank of China, even locally from banks like Standard Bank. So this endless borrowing has put us where we are. Because every year, as a country, Uganda, we are losing 10 trillion Ugandan shillings. This is a disaster for a heavily poor country. So our public debt, right now as we speak, it is 111 trillion Ugandan shillings. So we are having a debt economy because our leaders are borrowing irresponsibly. So we are saying, Despot Museveni and his junta, they have to cut their appetite of borrowing from these institutions. So we have to push back the World Bank, to Exim Bank, to the African Government Bank, and the local banks to tell them to stop irresponsibly giving money to this dictator because he's stealing it. Because data shows 10 trillion is lost every year. Yet that could be put in key sectors like the one of health, education, or agriculture to ensure that we don't suffer as we suffer today. So it is so sad that 44% of our revenue we are collecting from the Uganda Revenue Authority, it goes to corruption. So nearly half of what URA collects, it gets wasted to corruption because of the bad governance we have in our country, Uganda. So this must stop. And as any people are saying, we are tired of business as usual. We want to fix the mess. That's what Museveni has created for the last 40 years. Next slide, please. So this is the legal framework of fighting corruption. So the regime has put lots of acts to ensure that we fight corruption. So we have the Constitution of Uganda, the one of 1995. We have the Inspectorate of Government Act. It was enacted in 2002. We have the National Audit Act of 2008. We have the Whistleblowers Protection Act of 2010. We have the Leadership Board Act of 2002. The Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Act of 2003. We have the Anti-Corruption Act of 2009 and the Public Finance Management Act of 2015. So you see, legally, our framework is strong. But when it comes to implementation or enforcement, we fail totally because of bad governance. And this must stop. It is our generation. It is me. It is you. It is us. So the other one was legal framework. Now this is the institutional framework. What institutions has this dictator Museveni put in place to deceive us for 40 years that he's fighting corruption? So it's just blinding us. One, we have the IDG office. It has been in implementation for years. But just last year, they recovered only 2.3 billion out of 15 cases they were investigating. So they're not doing the work. They just come up with a few cases just to blind us that the regime is fighting corruption. Yet in the actual sense, they are doing nothing. So if you're just recovering 2.3 billion in 1 year, yet we are losing 10 trillion in a year, this is a waste of tax resources because they're just wasting resources and time. So the IDG office has failed. We have the OAG office, the Office of the Auditor General. So he gives a report every year, painting a picture of how corrupt the regime of President Museveni is. We have the Directorate of Ethics and Integrity, DEI. It has failed. We have the media, because the media is giving a reflection, a picture of what's happening in this country of ours that we care about. Then we have the old DPP office, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. She has failed. She has failed to go for the big fish. They're just going for silver fish. Yet the whales are left to steal and walk away scot-free. So this must stop. As NUP, I will have to be more serious when it comes to fighting against corruption. So we have the SCBHC, the Anti-Corruption Division of High Courts. So this one, it has helped some cases, whereby it helps with expediting cases of corruption to recover some funds. Then we have the PAC in Parliament, the Public Accounts Committee. Today it is our Member of Parliament, Meda Sebona, who is heading the PAC. But if you ask him, how much has your committee recovered for the last 4 years you've been in Parliament? The figures are appalling. They are no good figures he's going to give you. So, these frameworks, institutionally, they fail. Then we have the civil society, the NGOs, the non-government organizations, which are, speaking out, painting a picture of who is corrupt. You saw a few years, I think last year, we had hashtags, mainly some of you who are using X or Twitter. We are pushing back. We can, decide to touch, we can say today we are looking at education institution of Imperial University, tomorrow we are looking at national waters, the other day we are looking at Parliament, and you saw how the activists have been fought back. Agatha Tyree, she has been tortured by the regime because of exposing corruption in this beautiful despot Museveni. Many activists, human rights defenders, have been incarcerated because they're talking about the cancer of corruption in this regime of despot Museveni. But we can't stop to speak about this problem in Uganda. So as some of you who are, are linked to NGOs or civil society, I encourage us to keep pushing back because CSOs play an important role when it comes to fighting corruption. We're not where we want to be, but at least if these other institutions have failed, we still have hope in the CSOs. But again, you see also Museveni is fighting back. You saw how many NGOs have been shut down because they're trying to fight back. But we can't give up. So it is resilience and courage is the antidote to dictators like Museveni. Next slide, please. So this was the methodology of coming up with everything that is presented today. So there are some case studies that are being used to paint a picture. There's a poll I conducted on my X platform on Twitter. Then the newspapers locally that I was using to build the reality of what's happening in our country. Then I was also using Transparency International with their perception index to ensure that I get where Uganda is. So Many of you will be asking, but what is causing this cancer of corruption in Uganda? Why have we failed to have corruption for the last 40 years? So I divided this into 4 groups. So the first one is impunity. You steal and you are scot-free because you're connected to the first family. Because your surname is coming from one region. Because you are headhunted at a job, so nobody's going to touch on you. So we've seen all these cases. You know what happened to Choga money. You know what happened to COVID-19. If today we decide to carry out an investigation on how much we lost just from COVID-19, the lockdown, it will be a disaster. So we have to be interested. If we get to power, we have to go back and investigate. How much did we borrow during the lockdown of COVID-19? How much did we lose? Who stole it? And we bring them to books of justice. Because we can't just look on when our country is collapsing before our eyes. So it is a sad reality that impunity is leading to selective prosecution. Then we have the parallel structures that have also failed. Because today you're wondering, if you're fighting corruption, the institutions are being held in the State House. You see the anti-corruption unit in the State House. Why are they in the State House? Someone is just duplicating institutions, just to paint an image to the international community that I'm trying, I'm doing everything. Now, if the courts have failed, I'm fighting corruption from State House. That is wrong. There is no independence of institutions. So there's no way a corruption and anti-corruption unit in the State House is going to come after the leader of corruption, Museveni, or his family. No way. That's why it has failed. So we also have power centralization. So we see how many laws in Uganda have been manipulated, like the removal of the presidential limit or term limits. So that's a form of corruption. If you shred the constitution by amending it in your own favor, because we say corruption is the misuse of public office for your personal gain. So autocrat Museveni amended the constitution by removing the age limit and term limits that he can personally gain to become a president for life. And we're saying this madness must stop with our generation. So there is also public apathy. So many Ugandans, they've normalized corruption. Because if they ask Ugandans, do you care about corruption? They look at it as something normal. Many of us here, it's like you don't care. Many of us here, you go back to Uganda for your vacation. And you're corrupting people because you want things to move faster. You want to process your passport in 1 week. They tell you there's a procedure. You're going to bribe someone. Am I lying? Yeah, so it is a sad reality that we have to confront. Go back, look yourself into the mirror, and ask yourself, where is the problem? What have I done? What can I do to ensure that this stops immediately? Next slide, please. So, corruption, whenever we steal or whenever we misuse government resources, it comes with implications. And these are some of the effects of corruption. So, on the left, you see some of the corruption scandals or the money we've lost because of misusing government resources. So, we have the economic cost, as I've shared. We are losing 10 trillion Ugandan shillings every year because of corruption. That is the economic cost we are paying. So this is a debt burden. It may not be you paying back at debt, but your grandchildren or your children are the ones who are going to carry this burden. And whenever we are wasting money to debt servicing, other sectors are being affected, like education and health. Because they're telling us 20 mothers are dying every year while giving birth, which is wrong. Many children under the age of 5 are dying because our health sector is underfunded. So we spend too much to work with servicing instead of investing in our health, or investing in voucher, or investing our leaders. That's why, by show of hands, who trusts Museveni here? So now we see. So, because the regime is corrupt, we've lost trust in this regime. He came with hope. If you go back and read at the New York Times headlines in 1986, they were praising this President Museveni as a reformer. But today, they can't give him the same headlines because he has a history of deception. He has failed, and we've lost trust in him. So as leaders, our brother wants to go to Parliament in Bio, make sure that we don't lose trust in him. We want to always trust him. We want to trust our leader, Chairman Robert Satan, as the president of Uganda once gets to power and fixes this mess. So also, whenever you steal, it means you're denying others access to services, which is a big problem. Today, if you look at just education, we have an education crisis. Millions of our children are out of school because of extreme poverty. Many young children today are walking to school barefooted. Many are sitting in classrooms on empty stomachs. Many go to classes when they are not teachers. Many go to classes when there are no class materials. Many are walking kilometers, 10 kilometers, just to access education. Many are missing out of school because they can't afford buying the sanitary pad. And this is wrong. It is creating an education loss to the young generation. So, whenever you steal, you're denying the public other services. So, it is sad that this mismanagement of healthcare and education funds, that's what actually. And then lastly, talk about the international relations. Today you see that also our friends, international government partners, or the donors, they are running away. They've cut aid because they can't keep feeding Uganda, giving Uganda funds, while the junta is still in it and there are no actions taken. Let's begin with the USA. You know what happened with the USA? They cut the funding they were giving to Uganda. But do you know how many Ugandans were benefiting from just USA in terms of accessing drugs or medicine of HIV? Many people are impacted. And people can't access these things anymore. So people are getting money from USA in terms of treatment for tuberculosis, malaria, polio. So today we're struggling. Go to the UK, they have a right-wing politician. He has cut aid. Go to Germany, same problem. They have a right-wing politician. He has said his government is going to cut aid. So they are thinking about their countries. Now you see how the foreign policy has changed. It is America first, Germany first, UK first. As Uganda, what is our policy? If you ask any Ugandan what's the foreign policy of Uganda, it is vague. We don't know it. We are fighting useless wars. Free of charge. Donald Trump says it's going to solve a problem in Congo, but you give him resources, you give him timber or lithium to make the iPhones we love using. He's saying, I'm going to Somalia, he wants uranium to make nuclear weapons. Uganda, how many wars have we fought? We go to Somalia, we go to the greatest region, we go to the Middle East, we fought many wars, but nobody sees where the money goes. So these individuals who are gaining for selfish interests, not national interests. So it is time to think about national interests, not individual interests. If you want to build a country in Uganda. So our friends, the government partners, they now have a bad image about Uganda because we are abusing human rights. We are enacting bad laws in bad faith. Even us, the opposition, we have to touch ourselves. Because I was having a fight with some of the MPs. In my own party, NUP, why would you vote for an oppressive law? The anti-homosexuality law. Because you're fighting against the existence of a marginalized group. People are going different. That's the reality. I would accept. We are here in America. You have your friends, neighbors, pilots, drivers. They give services. You may not know maybe this hotel is before you see some of these cases, okay, let's go on. So these are some of the case studies of corruption in Uganda. So recently you saw the iron sheets scandal by the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Moore. So we've got good examples. How can the Speaker of Parliament be in the office stealing iron sheets and she walks away scot-free? That is the purity I'm talking about. You saw Agnes Nandutu. These were ministers. The Deputy Minister of Finance, he was engaged in this kind of stealing iron sheets. So how can they, none of them has been, held guilty of these crimes. So if you go to the privatization, this regime has sold a lot of our companies. So we have UCB as our bank, but instead they sold it, the Uganda Commercial Bank. So we had this company, the Enhance, which was covering cargo at the airport. He sold it. Sam Mutesa. Sam Mutesa is one of the most corrupt Ugandans in the history of our country. And you saw how when he became the president of the Union Assembly, he was getting bribes from battery force. And even he gave a bribe of $500,000. This was Museveni. Museveni, when he was asked about that bribe, he said it was a donation. But we know the reality. The New York Port Circuit, they charged Patrick Court. I think he's still serving these 5 years because of that corruption, that bribe he got. So then I talk about another case study of corruption in the oil sector. You had the former Minister of Finance, Saida Pumba. She was on record of saying that she signed all agreements without reading them. So it was costing us money, but she was doing it because I know they read these things. So government lost 568 billion in terms of tax waiver. The agreements of EGOP today, the East African Crude Pipeline, they are held in secrecy. We've been demanding where are these oil agreements. Ask the leader of opposition, Joe is here. Ask him, have you read the EGOP agreement? He'll tell you no. But these are 5 years now, 6 years. We are demanding year after year. Where are these EGOP agreements? They are holding them in secrecy. Yet Uganda joined the EITI, the Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, in 2020 August, to ensure that we are transparent about our resources of oil. But this regime is shameless, and they are doing everything right. This pipeline people has displaced over 100,000 communities in Uganda and Tanzania. Many people have been underpaid. Some are not yet being paid. People are demanding for conversations. Human rights activists are being arrested. Journalists who are putting about it, they're being arrested. So the pipeline has become an abomination of human rights and ecocide. So we are saying we'd rather stop this pipeline because this is a climate carbon bomb in our backyards. It's going to emit 34 million tons of climate pollution every year at peak production. That is 379 million metric tons of its entire lifetime of climate pollution. Today the entire world is talking about making a green transition, investing in renewables. As a young country, we are investing in a carbon bomb called the East African Oil Pipeline, which we don't know the agreements are being hidden from us. So there are lots of things that are going on in our country. Next please. But we have to look at the broader picture. So in Uganda, corruption has just now started becoming a headline. It's like every day you wake up, you're going to find a headline about corruption in our country. This is sad. But don't give up on speaking up against these corruption scandals. We must fight back if we are to win this war against corruption. Look at this. This was daily monitor. Thieves behind Museveni. This is the IDG saying it, that the thieves are hiding behind the dictator Museveni. So once you steal, there's a shield they give you, they call it the corruption shield, and lots of headlines. Next, please. So this was a poll on my platform, So I was asking Ugandans, how well or badly would you say this current regime of Dr. Museveni is fighting against corruption for the last 8 years in Uganda? So I say, very well, fairly well, bad, very bad. So 84% of those who engage in this poll, they say they feel that the regime has badly fought back against corruption. Next, please. Now, these are some of the quotes we have from our leader, Museveni. Sadly, is the president of Uganda. So at one time, on 9th December 2021, President Museveni said, go slow on lifestyle audit. We are still lucky that our corrupt people are corrupt here in Uganda. But if they realize that their lifestyle is being audited, they will instead take what they store abroad, and it will be hard to track them. On July 1st, 2019, Museveni said, there is no way the NRM can fail to defeat corruption. 2023, he said, I am going to crush these corrupt people. July 2024, he said, fighting corruption is not as difficult as many may think. But he has failed to fight corruption. So it's just rhetorical when it comes to fighting corruption. When it comes to actions, it is a total failure. You just give him a great F that he has totally failed to fight corruption. There's a video that I can't relate, I think there's no time there. But let's go to the next, please. Thanks, the last one. So in conclusion, the last please. Next. So folks, comrades, in conclusion, I say that corruption is rewarded to maintain dictator Museveni's grip of power. So as I told you early in the morning, during the debate of those who are here, I told you that dictators in the world use 3 pillars to remain in power. The first pillar is corruption, the second pillar is propaganda, and the third pillar is violence. So now Museveni is effectively using corruption to strengthen his grip on power, which we have to, because if we fight against corruption and win this war, we know where to sing. So enforcement, our laws, they are very good, but when it comes to enforcing them, we fail. So implementation of these laws needs to be revised. Then the cost of corruption, as we said, it is nearly 10 trillion Ghana shillings every year we're losing because of corruption, which would fund 23% of our national budget. Then I talked about absolute power. So Museveni is using absolute power to control all the institutions of corruption. Then the parliament, the judiciary, they are under his control because he's a corrupt leader. So I talk about also reforms. How can we fix this mess? So I conclude by saying we need a system overhaul to end this. So as they said, the fish goes from head to bottom. So we need an overhaul to fix this kind of corruption in Uganda. And this comes with political will. Without political will, we can't fight corruption. We shall be saving ourselves. So we need leaders who are going to help people to fight corruption. Then lastly, it is the issue of impunity. It is leaving the big fish to walk scot-free. They come from we were range. You just make a small guess and they put you in jail for 10 years. A government leader, official, or someone related to the regime, to the first family, steals billions. They haven't been tried in courts of law because of impunity. So we have to fight back against this impunity in our government and ensure that we fix this mess. So I finish by saying that corruption is rewarded in Uganda instead of being fought, which is ridiculous. So I'll also finish by saying, or going back to report are we going to unite and find reforms and fix this mess? It is collective responsibility. It is our moral imperative to act now and end this madness of corruption in Uganda. Thank you so much.
Thank you. People power, our power, NUP, everywhere. Come with the mama. People power, our power, NUP, everywhere. NUP, everywhere. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Comrade Justice Hunter. He's always hunting for justice. And the children can end up with Museveni Hunter. But let's be realistic one night. Let's have an honest talk. How do you be president for 40 years? And you're still seeking for more 5 years. You want to be president for 45 years. What's that madness? At least, like, that's the discourse. Like, there was that time when Ugandans felt like it's really too much. Like, you do everything great. It's so sad. And I'm like, man, don't these people have kids to speak to them? His level of trust is so low that he can't even trust his son, even for 5 years or 2 days or 3 days. The last time he was sick after 40 years, said Nambani should take on for 3 days. Nambani, I go president of Uganda, if you don't remember. Nambani was given authority for 3 days. And that's the craziness that we have. It's so sad for our country. But now, without wasting a lot of time, because we're going to be having a session with the First Lady after a small rest, please endeavor to come through. Tuina Olivia Lutaya, she will be joining us tomorrow. We'll speak about what she went through. Tuina, our dear professors, I think they will be analyzing and taking stock of what has been said here. Then, on the closing dinner, they'll be giving us the results of the outcome. This has been a very beautiful engagement with messages, mostly speaking about Museveni's leaving. Basically, we've been tackling corruption, human rights, the killing, extrajudicial killings, but it all wraps up to Museveni's leaving. Prof, I want to remind people here. My son is only 4 years and he has seen 2 presidents. The father, the father is almost there. The father is almost there, and he has only seen 1 president. It is so sad for our country. Yeah, so at this particular moment, allow me to invite the doctor. Thank you. Then we shall have a prayer from Aji, closing prayer from Aji Ngeba. Thank you.
People power. People power. Our power. I think sometimes when you're on social media, people say how NUP has no policies, that we don't know what we're fighting for. But this session has been really a reflection of our diversity, our views. We have seen every region of Uganda, how we can win through the protest sport. We have seen the challenges facing Uganda in the north, in the east, west, in the central region. We have talked about corruption. So this is a party which really wants to transform Uganda. We have the tools, we have the brain power, we have the people who can bring the change that we need. And I'm very sure this message is going to reach our leaders. We're going to keep having these conversations this weekend to make sure that we leave this place where we're mobilized, when we're motivated, when we know the solutions that we need to fix our country. So what can we do as a diaspora? I think Madam Grace talked about this. We can mobilize, we can do outreach through social media, we can lobby, make sure we get election observers, to make sure our foreign policy is understood, to make sure we build allies in the diaspora. But for this convention, we can pledge to support the struggle in Uganda. So you're going to see some pledge cards which will be distributed. They will be at the registration desk. I know Madam Winnie and Grace has some of those cards. So take one of these cards and you pledge what you can and bring it back to the registration desk. We shall be giving out certificates this weekend, depending on which level you want to make a donation. Any donation counts. It might not always be monetary. I know some of you have resources. You might work for a company which makes cameras. You might work for a company which might give equipment that the electoral team can use for the national media platform. So if you have access to resources other than what's on the pledge card, that's also welcome. I know in previous elections, many of you donated your cars, you donated equipment, you donated boots, among other equipment which are used by the team at the national media platform. So let's do whatever we can to make sure we support the team in Uganda to have a successful protest vote across the country. Northern Uganda, east, west, south. We need to make sure that we tackle every part of the country. So because of time, we're going to wrap up this session. Tonight, we have a session for the First Lady. The President is going to be also present. We got caught up and couldn't come to this session, but it's going to be around tonight. That session is also start at 7 p.m. So that means we're only giving you half hour. I know last session I said take an hour, but I really request that take as less time as possible. Come back here. And the reason why I want you to come back early is because I want you guys to have a good time tonight. We have a meet and greet. We have our DJs who are going to give us some good music tonight. So I want us to get through the serious business as early as possible. Because the less time we use, the more time you have to relax and enjoy yourselves. So let's try to be back early so we can go through that session quickly and then we can relax and enjoy ourselves until 1 a.m. That's the plan tonight. So please try to be back here at 7 o'clock or a little bit after 7 so that we listen to the First Lady and the rest of the presentations that we have. Thank you so much to our judges. I'm not going to give you a chance to speak. I'm from the DMV community, so you can give extra points to Madam Winnie. But here retail has talked about corruption, so I'm not going to ask for the extra points. Just wanted to mention. Oh, so I've been told tonight's session is cultural theme. Cultural theme. So I ain't going to see. Never know who they don't go and see. Abaine Gomesi, Abaine Kanzu, Mishana, Lecture, Madam Winnie. So tonight's theme is cultural outfit. It's not a means enough to put on a Gomesi. Never forever done. So cultural outfit tonight, if you can. If you can't, you can keep on your outfit. So
tonight as well. So thank you everyone.